So now we're going to talk about what your brain is doing during the 3 phases of labor. So the 3 phases of labor being early labor, active labor, and transition. And we could get really technical into the science of it and how, the different scientific terms of what your brain is doing, but we're going to keep it more simple. And Cynthia is going to show us first what would early labor look like if you are a laboring person.
For early labor, it's kind of those feelings of like, oh, was that something? Did that just happen? Was that a contraction?
Yeah.
Did I feel that? Or was that gas? Like, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
It's more like, okay, this can be something, maybe it's not. And you're still able to go about your day. You're still able to talk, laugh, and do different movements and stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if I'm in early labor, it might look like if I'm having a contraction right now in early labor, it might be like, oh, okay, I think that might be something. And it can still be early labor even if you know it is labor for sure. And you're kind of like, oh, that's kind of intense. Okay, let me, maybe I'll just sit down for this one. But I'm still able to talk to you.
Right.
Okay, that one's done. Now let me stand back up and keep going with whatever I'm doing. Active is when your brain switches from, okay, I am still able to be, that's one other thing with early labor. You're still able to be in your, I'm using my hands, in your executive frontal lobe of your brain, still able to make decisions, think clearly, speak clearly, all of that. Active labor is when your brain does that switch where all of a sudden you need to stop what you're doing.
Right.
So maybe it's like, here comes a contraction, you're having a conversation, you're talking to your partner, and
you just have to stop, make sure everyone's quiet, can't talk anymore. And this is a great way to also have partners realize to read the cues of your birthing partner. If she is quiet and she is like, then that means you be quiet and you just let her work through that.
Okay, that was a long one. Yeah. So when you're in active labor and you have a contraction, your brain kind of goes from being in that executive functioning, able to talk, able to make decisions, more into your, call it your critter brain, where you're trying to just do whatever your brain can to cope with the intensity, whether that's looking at someone, moving, any one of your senses, maybe you're vocalizing or going internal. That's what active labor looks like. And it gets progressively more intense until you hit transition. And so transition is that space where you still know what's going on around you most of the time, but your contractions are happening so intensely and so kind of on top of each other that you, most people, and this might be different, but most people tend to go really internal during that phase, and it's really one on top of the other. And this is the worst it's going to get typically for most people. And at that point, it's more about, for the partner or the doula, it's more about reminding the laboring person that this is the worst it's going to get. Like, you've made it. You've got it. You're doing it. You've been doing it. And the next part's pushing, and then you're going to meet your baby. And a lot of people like the pushing part because then they're actually able to do something about the intensity. But the transition part is where your brain can only focus on the intensity, and so that's why there's not a lot of, I guess, external output, meaning typically not a lot of discussion going on. So yeah, like we said, a rule of thumb is if the birthing person is not talking, you should not be talking, and just reminding that they're doing a great job, and